So we're going to, yeah. So this is the attention economy, and my name is Rob Reed. I'm the founder and CEO of MomentFeed. We provide an integrated solution for Facebook, Foursquare, Twitter, and Instagram, designed specifically for multi-location brands, or as my friend Mark Silva likes to call it, Buddy Media for places. And I'd like my panelists to introduce themselves. I'll start with Holger.
Yeah, my name is Holger Ludolf. I am responsible for business development at Foursquare.
My name is Brandon Pierce, and I am responsible for building partnerships on the marketing monetization side for OEMs and carriers in the mobile space.
My name is Matt Doherty. I'm the director of shopper marketing and mobile for an agency called FRWD.
Fred Neal, VP of CRM and Customer Insights and Analytics for the Home Depot.
So the idea here is that consumer attention is finite, and that the great media revolutions have pretty much come down to consumers shifting attention from one medium to another. We had radio to TV, we've had print to digital, and now it's shifting pretty dramatically toward mobile. The numbers are basically that currently 10% of media consumption is on mobile. Let's see here. This is Mary Meeker's slide from her 2012 Internet Trends Report. 10% of media consumption is on mobile, but only 1% of media spend is going toward mobile. So the question is, what are people doing with that 10%? And we see that upwards of a third of time spent on mobile is in social networking apps. And that shouldn't come as a surprise because phones are social by nature. So if you look at the top four, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Foursquare, if you're a user of those four apps, you're spending about 17 hours per month just in these four apps on mobile. And then finally, we had data come out from Flurry that shows time spent per day for web browsing and mobile and television over the past 3 years. And as you can see, mobile is starting to actually catch up with TV. And so I want to start the question to the panel is that we've got this huge delta between time spent and media spend. How is that gap going to be closed? Is it just media spend? Is it just are we just going to see more banner ads on mobile, or how is the mix going to look going forward? Let's start with Fred.
It's a good question. I think from a retailer's perspective, we're in the early innings of a long game, and this is something that's going to be evolving over time. So we think about it, of what we're doing as an organization is we're really in the test and learn phase around mobile. We recognize that this is something that we have to be in. It's where a lot of customers are spending time. We see mobile usage up dramatically. In terms of budget reallocation, it's going to be slow. We will look at where the results are and begin to change our allocations over time. But it's really, to me, I look at it, it's more of an experiment, but something that we have to be very diligent and very focused on paying a lot of attention to over the coming years.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two very different parts of the conversation. The easier one to sort of comprehend, I think, right now is from a sheer media perspective. Yes, eyeballs are shifting to mobile screens, and it's definitely surprisingly slow to see how slow the actual media dollars have shifted over there. But I think the power of mobile is not necessarily in media or in banners or even in mobile video. It's much more than that. It's about in-store experiences and tying it to your social ecosystem and all your other marketing efforts and certainly CRM efforts. So I think there's two very different conversations to be had there. I think it's just very difficult for large organizations, in particular, in large agencies, to make sense of even the mobile media world right now, let alone the whole other side of creating unique mobile experiences. And it's just because there's unfamiliar technology, unfamiliar vendors. A lot of the reliable in major partnerships, even from a sheer digital and from a desktop perspective. Those companies haven't necessarily moved into mobile, so there's just a lot of folks that are overwhelmed with how to even make basic media decisions, let alone start to shift their CRM strategy or their shopper marketing strategy or in-store experiences to mobile. So.
Well, Brandon, earlier in the year, there was a lot of talk about Facebook monetizing mobile. It was a big concern pre-IPO, and you don't have the right rail anymore on mobile. And Facebook responded and has had pretty much set a lot of the the naysayers straight on that.
Well, as a company, we have made a profound shift. We've seen the shift occur, and the shift is Mark Zuckerberg at the beginning of the year said we're a mobile-first company. So everything that we build is with mobile in mind first, and all our product teams are building for mobile. We have had some success, and we're seeing brands really leverage mobile marketing solutions in a profound way. We announced that 14% of our revenue from Q3 was attributed to mobile, so it came from 0 to 14% of our revenue fairly quickly. And it's because we are seeing that it's working. We're helping brands connect with consumers. And I hope it's that. It might be me, but I hope not. We're helping brands connect with consumers and their success there. And I actually think that very similar to what Matt said, it is a very difficult shift that brands need to make. But the brands that I think are having the most success are the ones that are not necessarily looking at marketing objectives within silos. They're looking at the marketing objectives that map up to specific core business objectives. And they're trying to look at everything more holistically and integrated into their overall marketing budgets. So it is a very difficult shift, but I think we see it happening fairly quickly and with success. A lot of brands are having success.
Foursquare's got a slightly different model in terms of your monetization strategy. And there's obviously a lot of time being spent in the Foursquare app, as we saw. But your monetization strategy is much more similar, I would say, to Google than to a Facebook. And is that how Foursquare sees it?
Yeah, I would probably say the same thing. It's probably closer to a Google and also maybe even to a Twitter model than it is maybe what Facebook is doing. I think that the difference is, so we're not only mobile first because we truly had, there was a mobile app first, and then we kind of started now shifting some of the services also to the web, but we're also just about location. So for us, it's actually very, we always had this kind of in the back of our mind, even when we were still only a few million users. I think there's like really two parts of the equation, and that's kind of how we look at it. The first part is like, how can you actually depict advertising within a mobile app so that it doesn't kind of feel intrusive and it doesn't kind of take away from the overall mobile experience. And it's certainly not the banners that we're seeing online. And I think the way we solve that is by just having very targeted advertising that is highly relevant to the user. So our targeting is based on location, time of day, and kind of behavioral targeting based on the kind of check-ins and behavior you've shown on Foursquare in the past. For example, we would never show you an ad for a coffee place if you've never checked into a coffee place before, just simply because there's a high chance that you probably don't even drink coffee, right? So that's the consumer aspect of it, and I think we're doing a really good job right now. And yes, it's kind of early days. We've just started a few months ago with actually monetizing, but our promoted products they don't really feel like an ad. They kind of feel like part of our overall kind of explore local search experience. And then the other part of the equation is what does the merchant get out of it? And as I said, we've started a pilot with major retailers about 3 or 4 months ago. And what we're seeing is because the targeting of the ads in our kind of local search experience are so good, the conversion that we're seeing to people actually acting on this, because we're working towards a cost per action model, so people actually have to react to it. An action could be checking into a store within hours of seeing the ad, or they could be seeing an Amex ad in the app and then basically swiping the Amex card at that store within a few hours. So the conversion that we're seeing and the ability for the merchant actually to track that transaction, that drives so much value that we think actually even of a company of our size, and we're nowhere near Facebook, what Facebook is, we can drive such highly valuable ads that this becomes even exciting for advertisers on a platform of our size.
So where I said before that the consumer attention is finite, but marketing budgets are also finite. So if the dollars are being shifted to mobile, where are they coming from? I mean, is it just a matter of going from one digital bucket to another, or is it coming from TV? Is it going to come from even outdoor advertising? It's when I'm at a stoplight, how many people check their phones when they're at a stoplight? How many people stop at a stoplight, pick up their phone, and start looking at it?
While they're stopped.
Hopefully, there's probably more. I don't think anybody's being honest about that, but because I do it pretty much at every stoplight, and so I'm not seeing that billboard when I'm stopped at that stoplight because I'm looking at my phone. So Fred, where I don't know if you can't talk about total size of budget, but like where are brands thinking about taking money from and to put it into mobile?
We look at our ad budget in totality, and we try not to silo it. And we look from a media mix perspective of saying what's working. So we've taken a chunk of dollars going into next year that's going to be all about test and learn, as I mentioned a few moments ago. And that's not coming exclusively from digital. We're taking it from print, a lot from print. We're taking it from TV. We're taking it from other forms of advertising. And we'll start to strip away, when we look at it from an econometric standpoint and revenue scaling, let's strip it from the areas where we get the least amount of productivity and then start to move it into those, obviously, that can be much more productive. But setting aside, knowing the importance of mobile, we're investing in the future. And we know that mobile is a place that we have to play. So we've carved out millions of dollars that will be used for test and learn around mobile that have come across all of our other spend channels.
But, we were talking about this before, but I like to, I mean, the whole problem with all this is the actual approach, right? And I think the thinking of it, in terms of a pie that we pull, like you said, you guys don't really think of it like pulling it from one particular segment of marketing, but it's really more about refocusing your efforts, because mobile, the real power of mobile doesn't really have to be measured in terms of dollars shifted from print or pulled from TV or what have you. It's really more about thinking about how mobile can amplify all those efforts and reshifting the focus and reshifting where your resources are allocated and getting your different business units, getting CRM to work more with the folks that are making major media decisions at agencies, and getting your shopper marketing teams to talk more to your brand teams, and that doesn't necessarily have to equate to a shift in dollars. It's just a different way to think about it. It's a different approach, and mobile can't be siloed into a different bucket to pull money from. I don't think. I think that's part of the problem with why it hasn't taken off as quickly.
Great point, and I would suggest that mobile could almost be the glue that threads together objectives that are throughout an organization, within a marketing organization, whatever part that might be, like you mentioned, shopper marketing, the brand teams. Mobile can actually be that glue that creates that multi-screen experience that everyone is talking about, the buzzword. Is this the year of mobile? We've been hearing that for 15 years. I would suggest that it probably is. But we also hear words like, multi-screen kind of experience. I totally agree that the brands that I work with and that the teams at Facebook work with that are having the most success and that are also putting budget in mobile are looking at their marketing objectives more holistically. And it's not necessarily siloed. And they're doing a better job of communicating even across the largest organizations that we work with. But it's very hard, because things are set in their ways, and it's easier just to buy GRPs on TV because that's been done for 50 years.
Do you have any sense, Holger, where budget is coming from? I mean, is it still just experimental at this point?
Yeah,
Foursquare?
I think with the kind of level of targeting that we're offering, I would say it's fair to say that a lot of the companies, retailers the size of a Home Depot, are probably still in an experiential phase. But they are the good news, I guess, is that they are spending significant amounts, and these amounts, like the other good thing is, like, I think the results that they're seeing makes them come back. We have very, very few advertisers who are not interested in kind of running a second and a third and a fourth campaign. But I think it is kind of hard for us, and quite frankly, I mean, it's, I guess, for the retailer really to kind of decide where the budget needs to come from. We just need to convince them that they should be trying these kind of new mobile forms of advertising.
So before we leave that, I just want to echo some of what Brandon was saying, and where we feel we've had some early successes, and it is on the connectivity of all of the different channels and how we play. And a couple things that we've done very successfully where we merge different channels is, some of you may have seen some of what we're doing with Shazam, where we'll take TV ads and integrate Shazam with that. So you'll click on Shazam, and then it'll take you to a web page where you can live in a much more robust experience, understand something around a project, tell you the products that you need for that. We've also done some things around augmented reality where you can select a Christmas tree, you're looking at an ad or seeing something in print, and then you can go take that tree and look at it on your tablet inside the home. So at the end of the day, what it really is going from the customer back. It's about the customer experience, and when they're consuming media and using devices, they're not sitting here thinking about a tablet or a phone or TV. It all works together, and it has to be interoperable. Just think of yourselves and what you do in your everyday lives when you sit. If you're watching TV, you have your phone in your pocket, you have your tablet sitting next to you, and you're watching television. All of those devices are there, and at some point they're interacting with each other. And that's part of the way we need to be thinking about our media buying decisions and the overall customer experience. How do they work together in a very connected manner, and thinking of mobile as that connected tissue that makes it work very efficiently.
Is measurement a significant challenge in mobile? I mean, in TV, we've got pretty established mechanisms for measurement and valuing TV. For better or worse, we have mechanisms in place to measure display advertising. Is mobile not, is that part of the problem with the disconnect, is just inability to measure?
From a Foursquare perspective, it's not. It's actually probably one of the values that we can bring to the table. The ability to charge, basically by action, and seeing people, the same people who see the ad, and maybe go one level deeper and kind of look at the offer, and then we can track them all the way to the check-in or even the card swipe at the store within a few hours of them seeing the ad. That's obviously fantastic tracking. I think there could be even a level deeper where you can even see whether they reacted to a certain offer that's tied to a certain SKU or something like that. So from my perspective, it's actually
the Google model.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's actually a differentiator and something that we can bring to the table that I think you cannot easily get with online, for example.
And there's really no reason that, from a pure media perspective, mobile should be any more difficult to measure than the problem is you're just, when you're looking at traditional MMM models, for example, companies just aren't spending enough to be able to see if it actually had an impact on moving the needle. But I mean, when you talk about those great experiences that you guys are testing with, yeah, that probably is a bit more difficult certainly to equate to the models built for TV measurement. It's never going to work. Never going to work in that sense, in that traditional measurement model. Which yeah, I think it probably slows some major decisions of making serious commitments to it. But from a media perspective, if you're able to isolate certain regions and isolate variables and take how much you're spending in mobile only and see if mobile actually has an impact on sales or what have you, that it should be able to be done that way.
Yeah. I would say a couple things. I'd say it's sort of and both. Like, I think there is some challenge with mobile measurement. Like there's not like view through tracking in mobile and so that's a challenge. However, I would say products that like Facebook and Foursquare offer, such as Offers, is an incredibly trackable type opportunity where you're able to see how many claims there are, and then the back end at the point of sale can deliver how many redemptions there have been. So that's incredibly efficient.
Like a direct response.
It's like a direct response vehicle. So that is something that's very unique to mobile and closes the loop potentially. You know, you've been exposed, you've claimed something that you were exposed to. I would say what will be interesting is following companies like Nielsen that are looking at like cross-platform measurement so that you can see how you're reaching a specific audience that a brand is trying to go after. So in order to get the really big dollars, I think you're going to have to be able to rely on companies that are able to equate the reach that you're getting on TV and the reach that you can supplement that with on mobile platforms such as, you know, Facebook, Foursquare, whatever. And I think that once you can do that, that's when you're going to really be able to see larger budgets shifting to mobile.
So a couple things to think about on that I think are important is, one, there's plenty of closed loop and CPA type things that you can measure very efficiently and effectively, which we do and most others do as well. But some of the things we need to be thinking about is, again, back to the connectivity, where somebody's watching TV or they're seeing an ad on TV, and then what does that lead to on mobile search? So how are you thinking about mobile search and then connecting that back to your other advertising channels? And then also the overall mobile experience. And if you're investing a lot in mobile, but you haven't created a mobile optimized site, or if you're doing email and it's not mobile optimized, you have to go across the entire ecosystem and how the customer is engaging and get that right. It's very experiential. You have to get the experiment figured out and understand what that experience should be. And the big elephant on the table to me is it's around technology. And what are all the things from an experience perspective that we have to make sure that we're not pissing customers off when they go somewhere on a mobile site? For us, we have local store level pricing. It's just been within the last year on our mobile site that we had local pricing before it was national pricing. So we have to get all of those things figured out. When a customer goes to a store or they go to a site, they don't want to have the wrong expectation about what the price is. So you've got to connect all the dots and making sure that you are putting the customer in the middle of this and understanding the use case all the way through that entire experience and what does that look like for them. I think we forget that a lot and we get it wrong and we don't go back and test through that.
We have 2 minutes left. We probably have time for maybe one question for the panel. If you can't get to a microphone, I can repeat the question.
Awesome. Wow. Sorry. Awesome panel. Do you see any parallels between what's going on the web in retargeting technology with this sort of connective tissue or going multi-screen? I mean, it seems like it's incredibly successful. I haven't seen people talk about it in the same way. Is it the same net effect?
Also, just answer quickly, yes. We're very focused on retargeting and making sure that what we're serving up is relevant based on what we're seeing on browse behavior. And at the end of the day, we want to be talking to customers about things that they've expressed an interest with based on their behavior.
Yeah, so I think the interesting thing in the power of mobile is being able to participate throughout the entire path to purchase or shopper continuum or whatever you want to call it, right? It allows you to follow the consumer and maybe not, banner on connected TV, banner on desktop at work, and banner on mobile later, and it may not be at the unique user level, but it at least gives brands an opportunity to truly participate and hopefully actually enhance and add value throughout that entire decision-making process, throughout the in-store experience, and then be able to sustain engagement after, right? By whether it's opting them in store for some sort of communication in the future, or encouraging some sort of social endorsement to their social circle. That's really what the interesting thing about mobile is the sustained engagement throughout, and then retargeting would just be one piece of that at the end, I think.
And that's all for us. Thanks so much to the panelists. Let's give them a good big round of applause.
Thank you.